opinion that I think Justice Jackson is best known for was a concurring opinion in a case called Jamestown Steel, where President Truman seized the steel mill. And one of the really vital parts about our structure of government is separation of powers. No branch has too much power. And the Supreme Court of the United States decided in 1803 in Marbury versus Madison that the Supreme Court had the final word. The Constitution doesn't say that. But when the Supreme Court decided that, they made it stick to the life of our country, and somebody has to have the final word. And institutionally, I think that has worked well for the country. And the Supreme Court has been independent, notwithstanding Justice Jackson's close relationship with President Roosevelt, and President Roosevelt's appointing him when the famous Korematsu case came up about the internment of Japanese citizens during World War II. Justice Jackson dissented, said that that was an inappropriate and unfair infringement on the constitutional rights of Japanese citizens. And that the dissent and his reasoning in that case have come to be regarded as the appropriate decision. And there's been a lot of criticism of what was done to Japanese citizens during World War II. And in the steel seizure case, he wrote a concurring opinion which has been often cited in recent times when the conflict has arisen between the Congress and the President. Congress passed the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act in 1978, which provides that you cannot have a wiretap unless you get a warrant from the court. And that's the standard position, that before there may be an invasion of privacy, there has to be a statement of probable cause and an affidavit. You go to the judge before you listen in on somebody's private conversation. And the President Bush has disregarded that statute in the terrorist surveillance program where they have warrantless wiretaps. And it's been quite a controversial subject. President Bush has asserted that the statute cannot derogate or limit or intrude on the President's constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief. That issue still hasn't been decided by the court. It's a torturous process through. The Detroit judge ruled the terrorist surveillance program was unconstitutional, and the Sixth Circuit reversed on standing grounds. There's a technical legal distinction as to whether the litigant has standing or the right to challenge it in court. The Supreme Court wouldn't decide. Frankly, they ducked it. I think if Justice Jackson were there, they wouldn't have ducked it. They would take the case. In my opinion, should have taken the case. I chaired the Judiciary Committee when the President put the terrorist surveillance program into operation, and he bypassed the Judiciary Committee. Traditionally, chairman and the ranking member are informed about those matters. But Justice Jackson wrote the concurring opinion in the Steele case that the governmental power is at its strongest when the President and the Congress join together. And presidential authority is at a medium point when the Congress has not said one way or another. Presidential authority is at its lowest point where the Congress has said the contrary, that you can't do something like warrantless wiretaps. The President disagrees and steps in, notwithstanding a congressional statutory provision to the Congress. So in the hearings which we had 3 years ago for Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Alito, Justice Jackson was quoted very frequently in those proceedings, and they were really sort of historic proceedings in putting a man of 50 on as Chief Justice. Justice Stevens is 89 and still going strong. So Chief Justice Roberts could look forward to decades of service. Justice Alito was 55, again, young man on the court. One aspect of Justice Jackson's career we should know about was that he was the prosecutor at the Nuremberg trial, where the government international court proceeded against the Nazi war criminals. And it's quite a precedent for a sitting justice to take a leave of absence to do something else. And it has been often referred to when Chief Justice Warren served as chairman of the President's Commission on the assassination of President Kennedy. And I was one of the young lawyers who worked on that case. They couldn't get Swansea. I had the opportunity to participate in that work, and have since had lots of challenges to the single bullet theory, which was my formulation. But on the relevant point is Chief Justice Warren taking the job. I'll tell you the short story. Well, it's a great pleasure to be with you and join you in this commemoration to a great American native of this area, the transplanted Jamestown. Thank you.
As the president of the Robert H. Jackson Center, I had the pleasure of seeing you and meet you at Chautauqua Institution, and certainly have observed your entire career and your involvement with the Senate, as senior member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and often during the confirmation hearings of Justice Roberts and Justice Alito, the conversations that revolved around native son Robert Jackson. And the fact that even back in as early as 1994, you and Senator Dodd proposed the resolution creation of the International Criminal Court, which in fact was the direct legacy of activities that occurred in Nuremberg, which is Robert Jackson being the chief American prosecutor there, and the person who probably was as much the architect for the creation of the trial, which in fact has found form in Cambodia and Rwanda and other places like that. On behalf of the Jackson Center, just as a way to say thank you for all that you provided to us, and to maybe give you an opportunity to put a portrait of native son Robert Jackson on the wall right there with President Eisenhower and hopefully the world champion Philadelphia Phillies. I suspect there is a little side wager going on with your colleagues from Florida regarding that. But anyways, as president of the Robert H. Jackson Center, and on behalf of all of the folks from Warren County, Pennsylvania, we'd just like to present to you a portrait of Justice Robert Jackson for you and your chambers.
Thank you.